the biggest overlying thing is to recognize that we're working in a dangerous environment in the avalanche world, but it doesn't have to be a dangerous job.
Scott's passion for creating a safer culture for avalanche professionals led him to design and launch avalanchenearmiss.org. This site gives insights into the incidents that we have on the job and is eminently searchable for those trying to understand what situations get their peers into trouble and potentially themselves. Scotty spent about 20 years at Big Sky Ski Area in Montana as a patroller and snow safety director. Following a 4-year and 14 surgery hiatus, he moved into the role of forecasting for the Sawtooth Avalanche Center and has directed that program for the last 7 years. His background in chemistry and the physical sciences has helped him take a deep dive into avalanche mechanics, and he may have a better appreciation of deep slab instability than anyone I know. In short, he is insatiably curious, and I really appreciate that about him.
So kind of from a big picture standpoint of, what has worked for me in my career, there are kind of I came up with three big things. One, be intellectually curious. So find rabbit holes that interest you and take a deep dive into them and see where you end up. Think about the interesting experiences that you have out in the field, patterns and trends or observations that you see, and then read and learn as much as you can about them. Talk to other folks, whoever will listen to you, especially when you're younger in your career, but speak to people about them who may have seen similar things. Think about them some more and study them. So be intellectually curious. Two would be talk to people from different islands or tribes. It's really important to not live in an echo chamber. As early on, I was a ski patroller and snow safety worker at Big Sky. So take your pick as a ski patroller or whatever at ski area X, whether it's Big Sky, Bozeman area, Little Cottonwood, Jackson, Tahoe. It's easy to think that collectively as a group, you're going to know, in speaking to the sage old folks there and yourself and your partners and coworkers, that collectively you're going to know everything there is to know about problem X, whatever that may be. So I think it's really important that it's something I've noticed is it's really important to take a look at that from the eyes of others, from people who are in different sectors of the industry, different geographic locations, and frankly, other industries that there's a lot to learn out there that's not on your little island, wherever you live. And I was really fortunate early on that I had, working at Big Sky, I could go up and call Ed Adams or Carl Berkland or Dan Miller and say, hey, can I come in and talk to you about this? And I was really fortunate that they would give me the light of day. And that was incredibly valuable to kind of start that process for me, which then branched out to just meeting and knowing and developing professional relationships with people from kind of all across the country and the world for that matter. The third thing I would say is borrow and steal ideas at will. Take what's worked for other individuals, other operations, other industries, other sectors of our industry, tweak it, adapt it to your specific problems, and make it work for you. But you don't need to reinvent the wheel with every problem you're going to solve. Odds are someone has already solved a very similar problem or the same one, someone else. And so borrow and steal ideas. So those are the three big things that have kind of worked for me over the years, Don.
Yesterday, we talked a little bit about cumulative exposure over your career. We definitely, I think we share a common attitude. Could you expand a bit on how you approach that?
Yeah, so early on, I saw a lot of fellow patrollers at Big Sky take rides or have close calls, either or both. And then had a fellow patroller killed in an explosives accident pretty early on in my career. So being kind of a recovering math numbers geek at that time, now I'm almost fully recovered. But I figured out that I'd have, if I kept up what I was kept doing what I was doing, I'd have, minimum 10,000 real exposures over the course of my career. So not just, crossing the bottom of a slope on a low hazard day or skiing open ski runs, but ski cutting, being on slopes where there's, real hazard or danger. And it was kind of eye opening to me then at that point. It's like, okay, well, I gotta, the way our brains work, we don't do a good job of distinguishing between 1 in 100, 1 in 200 versus 1 in 1,000 versus 1 in 10,000 versus 1 in 100,000. It's they're all these rogue black swan events once you get to those kind of probabilities. So I needed to figure out how the heck am I going to kind of shift the paradigm where I need to be way more cautious on individual exposures than I had been to that point. The things that I started doing back then that I've kind of continued with are, fully embrace KISS, keep it simple, stupid, Scotty. And the less is more. So the more complex the situation, the snowpack, what you're doing, the simpler the solution needs to be. You need to really rely on the basics as things get hairy. That's one of the biggest things that I've done. The other, I over the years, I've tried to develop a little kind of rubric of something that I can do real time when I'm out in the field. It has to be, fast and easily remembered. But I'll think about 3 things and I've been, pretty good about this, I'd say, over the last like 8-10 years. So at the top of any significant decision, whatever it may be, I'll think, what are the consequences? How's the accident report going to read? And then is the answer that when I say, should I do this? The answer is either going to be hell yes or no. So if it's, yeah, I think I can do this, that's a no, just to build a little bit of extra safety margin in there. There are a few times each year, whether it's snow and avalanche world or, construction, my old summer job, where I'll be like, I'm going to look like an idiot. I know how the accident report's going to read here. I'm going to look like a moron if something bad happens. So I'm not doing that. So I'll catch myself a few times a year. And, maybe one of them was one of the times when I would have been injured or killed. Maybe not. Who knows? But one little thing that I do additionally to kind of stack the odds in my favor. I think the biggest overlying thing is to recognize that we're working in a dangerous environment in the avalanche world, but it doesn't have to be a dangerous job. The dangerous job part comes from you, the individual, and the operation. So just you need to really keep that recognition that yes, it's a dangerous environment, but I don't have to make it be a dangerous job.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is not knowing roughly where that line is. You'll never know exactly where it is, but when you're young, you don't even have a sense that you may be approaching it.
Yeah, so the amount of risk that someone's willing to accept is going to vary in different phases of their life. And I think, like for me, I'm fairly risk averse when it comes to more physical pursuits, whether it's kayaking, skiing, avalanche work, biking. I'm not the person that hangs it out there that much compared to intellectually. I take a lot more risks, and I think that's one thing that I'd encourage people to do is to take intellectual risks. It's opened up a ton of doors for me over the years. So don't be afraid to speak at a professional SAW event, to present at an ISSW, to write an article for TAR. The sheer number of doors that can open for you is it's really cool. And it's going to allow you to really accelerate what you learn just by meeting different folks and going down those different avenues. So yes, it can be really, really scary. As some practitioner's been working for 4 or 5 years or 6 years and doing a talk in front of 1,000 people at an ISSW.
Well, thanks, Scotty. I thought that was great. That went really well.
All right. No, my pleasure, Don.